Hi, welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. This is episode 36. I'm the muscle deficient vegan here with the protein deficient vegan. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So this is the last week of Veganuary.
Woo!
So this week we're going to do a crash course on the vegan diet, kind of like a going plant-based 101.
Because just because it's the end of Veganuary doesn't mean you should start eating meat again. Don't do it.
Then we'll also go over our myth of the week this week, which is that you have to lift heavy to build muscle.
Interesting.
But first up, new news.
New news.
So first up in the news, Mondelez, the company that makes Oreos as well as a lot of other snacks.
Like Sour Patch Kids.
Right. Has halted their funding for animal testing based on the PETA campaign.
But they still have animal products.
And they've joined PETA's Eating Without Experiments program.
Which is great, but they still have animal products.
Right.
I don't know. The hypocrisy is palpable. But anyways, you can guilt-free eat Oreos again, guys.
Yeah. So, PETA approved Oreos once again.
This is exciting because I pulled all the Oreos out of my recipes that had Oreos during this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oreos are so back.
So anyway, I guess baby steps,
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Beyond released a clear protein drink. If you haven't had clear protein, think like flavored water, but it happens to have protein in it instead of like a typical protein shake that's really creamy.
Yeah. And it also has this really nice slimy snot texture when you drink it.
No, they had to put the protein somewhere.
I know. I guess I'm never going to find a protein drink I enjoy.
Yeah.
Wait, did you like it?
I liked the concept. I don't think I liked the specific flavor I got. So when I went to buy it, the only one that was in stock was orange tangerine, which is not like a great flavor combination in my opinion. But they did have some flavors. I can't remember what they are right now, but they had a couple of flavors that looked like I would probably like them because I do like flavored waters, carbonated waters, stuff like that.
How do you feel about the texture?
It was okay, but yeah, there was a little bit of stickiness in your mouth, I guess. A little strange. But for the people who don't like protein shakes, it's probably a viable alternative if you need extra protein.
Yeah, and you don't have like weird textural hangups.
Yeah. They have two different kinds. They have a same size can, but they have a 20-gram protein version and a 10-gram protein version. And the price is like not that much different. So I think there's not much of a reason to get the 10-gram one.
It might have less slime, though.
Yeah, unless it's just like better mouthfeel or something.
Which could be worth it.
Yeah.
Because that mouthfeel took me out. But I will say, before I went vegan, they had something similar in the, the non-vegan space with whey. And it had that same like slimy thing. Yeah. So it's definitely not unique to this. So if you have liked those clear protein shakes before, you'll like this.
Yeah. Next up, Dutch startup called Time Traveling Milkman is making a protein from sunflower.
That's a fun name.
I know.
Everyone should have fun company names like this.
I'm really jealous.
Yeah, you might need to change your name.
Yeah, they already had a flagship product, which was like a non-dairy cream alternative made from sunflowers. So now they're turning that process into what they're calling a zero-waste process because they're taking the byproduct from the process they use to make the cream, and they're using it to make a texturizing sunflower protein.
Like TSP, textured sunflower protein?
Something like that, yeah.
That's really cool. Seems like we're seeing a lot of these like textured whatever proteins coming up, which I think is great because a lot of people have soy allergies.
Yeah. And I also saw in there that the process they used to get the protein out was pretty light touch for that kind of thing. It said it was like really mild, not a lot of chemical extraction, anything like that. So that's the news. Let's go ahead and get into our main segment. So first off, maybe we should define the difference between plant-based and vegan.
Yeah, they get used interchangeably a lot, which I guess is like semi-fair on the diet front, but the meanings behind these are completely different, and you can piss a lot of people off by using the wrong one.
Yeah. A lot of people are touchy about this kind of thing for some reason. So.
As they should be. I'm not plant-based, I'm vegan, bitch. So plant-based is like you adhere to a mostly plant-based diet, and I think this is where it gets a little confusing because some people say plant-based, but they're not like fully plant-based. They're like, I'm mostly plant-based.
Yeah, a plant-based diet is not even always technically a vegan diet.
Yeah.
Because it'll be predominantly plant-based. So you might still have some fish and meat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Even Morningstar doesn't know what the hell plant-based is because they write plant-based on their vegetarian products.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure what tree eggs come from, but it pisses me off.
Yeah, I can understand in the context of plant-based diet, meaning there might still be some animal products, but having a product say plant-based feels like it should just be plants.
Feels like it's pretty misleading, Morningstar. Maybe PETA should get up Morningstar's ass. So anyways, so plant-based is diet-focused, and most people go plant-based for like health reasons. Some people do it for environmental reasons, or all the other reasons that we talked about on last week's podcast, going over different documentaries.
Yeah.
But then vegan is for animals.
Right. Yeah, it's, the main tenet of veganism is reduction of animal harm and like the belief that animals aren't here for our use and things like that. So the scope of that is much larger than the diet. It includes things like clothing, accessories, shoes, beauty products, cosmetics, even certain little types of food you might not think about, like honey and gelatin and things that are fortified with lanolin that comes from sheep.
Yeah.
And then also alcohol and toilet paper.
Yeah, like a whole array of things that you probably need to look into if you go vegan.
Right. Yeah, you can find a lot of lists online about things to look out for in particular products. There are like vegan-friendly cosmetics and stuff like that.
And vegan-friendly alcohol.
Right.
I wouldn't know what to recommend you other than there is a vegan bourbon company called the Blood Brothers Bourbon. Blood Brothers Bourbon.
Like
we only know this because we watched Vampire Diaries, and one of the guys from Vampire Diaries is vegan, and so they started a vegan bourbon company. But there's lots of good lists out there. We just don't have them for you here.
Well, it really depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, there's lists for all these different areas of interest and things like that. So we do have an article we're going to list in the show notes where you do cover a lot of those types of things. So you kind of got your own list for a couple of various areas.
I'm just not like a purse expert or like a fancy shoe expert, so I can't really tell you which ones are vegan approved. But there are lots of people doing good work out there, and if you Google it, you'll definitely find lists of like shoes, purses, cosmetics, all that stuff.
Right. Okay.
Just to let you know to look out for that.
Now you know.
The more you know.
All right. So now let's dig into the vegan diet itself.
Yeah, which is also the plant-based diet, but...
Yeah. A vegan diet is plant-based. A plant-based diet, not always vegan.
Yeah, it's like those little word things that were on like the ACT,
Oh, yeah.
Not all these are that, and not all those are this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So first off, one of the things that a lot of people have the hardest time with when they go to try the vegan diet is how to deal with the things they have like cravings for, hyper palatable foods, which just means like really that taste really good and you want to eat more of them. And then things with sentimental ties, so like family traditions, holiday meals, a lot of stuff.
Or convenient stuff.
Yeah, convenient stuff. You go to snacks.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So we'll talk about a couple of the components that kind of make up a lot of those dishes typically. And the first one is cheese substitutions.
Yeah. When I went vegan, this was the one I was most concerned about because I remember trying vegan cheese at like a pretty young age. I don't know why, because I was vegetarian, but I remember trying it and it was really bad. But this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But they've gotten great.
And cheese is very often like the last hang up. Like people are like, I would go vegan, but cheese.
Well, cheese is literally addictive.
Yeah.
Like actually addictive. So I don't know. I've heard the advice that once you go vegan, you should stay off of any cheese or any vegan cheese for a couple months and then come back to vegan cheese and you'll like it better. I went straight into vegan cheese and enjoyed it fine. So I think it really depends on what you use it on because it does have like a lot of the ones you buy in stores have more of like a sticky texture.
Yeah.
Like if you're melting it on pizza, the mouthfeel is going to be a lot different. But if you're putting it inside of a quesadilla, like I don't notice it so much.
Yeah. I think the main difference is like vegan cheese doesn't really have any protein. So the texture is a little different.
Yeah. They're most of them are coconut oil based. So
yeah. But there are a lot of really good ones. And you've got a couple that you like specific for like specific use cases.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really like Follow Your Heart Parmesan, the one that's in a little tub. That's my favorite because it browns really well in the oven. Like if you put it on broil, it browns and it gets kind of crispy. So I like it on pretty much anything. Like casseroles, it's good. I know a lot of people use it on pizza. I don't usually use that one on pizza. But I like it on casseroles. Sometimes I'll just toss broccoli in the oven with it. A little bit of that and a little browned Parmesan on top, and it's excellent.
Yeah, it's really good for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can get, if you like grating the block of Parmesan on your pasta or something like that, Violife makes a really good one for that.
Yeah, that one's good. It's flavorful. That's the one I would eat if I wasn't cooking it. Like, if you're going to be cooking a parm, I think the Follow Your Heart's the one to do that with. There's also like a couple other really good parms. We've been having this one. Was it Madly Hadley?
Something like that.
It's like a shaker.
Yeah.
Parmesan.
Shaker parm, yeah.
We've been
really good.
That one's really good. It's like very flavorful. I think that one's cashew based.
Hmm.
There's a smaller company that I think you can really only order online unless you're next to a large vegan cheesery or where her location is, but Peaceful Rebel cheese is actually really good. They have a Parmesan block that's like kind of nice and melty, and they also have other blocks of cheese that you can melt.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are tofu based, so they have a little bit more protein than your average like store cheese.
No, that's nice. And then, shredded cheese is another big one people use on all kinds of recipes. We usually go for Violife for these. They have like a Mexican. They have a Colby Jack, which is actually tastes a lot like Colby Jack. They have
cheddar, mozzarella.
Pretty much everything you would find in a shredded cheese
Yeah.
section.
This is like probably my favorite for shredded cheese. I feel like it melts really well. The thing with vegan cheese, though, if you're trying to get it to melt, is the key to vegan cheese melting is humidity. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to get it to melt.
Yeah.
Moisture helps it melt.
Right. That's why, like, if you have a piece of sliced cheese and you're trying to melt it on, like, a vegan burger patty, you can put a lid or something over it and it'll melt around the patty.
Yeah, maybe, like, drop a couple drops of water in the pan to up the humidity and then lock it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We learned that trick by watching the chef Max at Herbivore cook at a festival one time.
That's true.
All right. Daiya cheese I think that's like one of the original ones. They seem to be the most popular vegan cheese.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. That one used to suck.
Yeah.
Daiya also has like some other products. They have like vegan frozen pizzas and cheesecakes and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have cheese. It's usually not my first pick, but a lot of people like it. Next up is like, and I don't know if you're going to be able to find this right now because there's a lot of drama around the Miyoko's brand, but their liquid mozzarella was always like kind of my pick for grocery store options.
Yeah.
It's a liquid mozzarella made from cashews, and it browns up really nicely on a pizza. I don't know if it's ever going to be back.
Luckily, you now have some recipes for mozzarella for pizza.
I do have I guess it's a dupe. It doesn't taste exactly like it, but it works essentially the same way.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. Nuts for Cheese is another good one that's like a little more artisan, smaller company. They mostly have blocks of cheese that you would like cracker cheese basically, and I think they have a couple dips, but they are really good.
Yeah.
They're like a little pricey, but they're delicious.
Yeah, and they have some of the more unique flavors. It's not like a standard cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I actually don't think they're that expensive when you think of like the artisanal dairy cheeses.
Yeah, they can get pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And then since we're in Chicagoland, we have to mention Cheese and Thank You. Yes,
Cheese and Thank You is awesome. And if you haven't been able to find it yet, I hope one day you do. They sell a lot of them at Whole Foods. They have this, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but there's a feta, a Cheese and Thank You feta that you can kind of like work into a pasta sauce pretty easily, just adding it to like a plant-based milk, and it kind of melts down and makes a really nice pasta sauce. Also, she has like a line of fresh mozzarellas that are perfect for pizza.
Yeah. Awesome. And then for the cases where you might use a feta cheese, Follow Your Heart has some feta crumbles.
Yeah.
I like these on salad a lot.
Yes. They are my favorite salad cheese. I think Violife also has a feta block, but I always go with the Follow Your Heart one.
Yeah. And then for cream cheese, if you use cream cheese on like a bagel, you know where you use cream cheese. Right? But Violife has a cream cheese, and then actually Philadelphia now has plant-based cream cheese, which is really good.
That one's really good, especially the strawberry one.
Yeah.
But a note on the cream cheeses is that they are coconut oil based, so they are like pretty melty. Like when you throw it on a bagel, it's going to semi-melt. But also, if you're trying to use it in a recipe in which you're making it hot, like, I don't know, a cheesecake, I probably would not use store-bought cream cheese.
Yeah.
Now, Miyoko's had a cream cheese that was, I think, either cashew or oat milk based. I can't remember which one. But that one actually worked pretty well in hot things because it wasn't coconut oil based and didn't just turn to like liquid goo.
Right.
But I don't know what's going on with that one again.
Yeah.
But you can also make your own with like tofu or cashews.
Yeah. And then for sliced cheese, typically it's on burgers and sandwiches and stuff. You can get Follow Your Heart. They have a lot of sliced cheeses, but also Kraft now has vegan sliced cheese.
Well, that's true. If they had like, I think American and cheddar, they might have a couple other ones.
Yeah.
Violife has some pretty good ones too. And then if you're looking to spend a lot of money on some really delicious cheese, Rebel cheese, expensive, but like delicious.
Yeah.
It's mostly like cracker cheese. Like if you were gonna put out like a charcuterie board with like really nice options for like a dinner party or just like a Saturday night where you just want to eat a plate of cheese, which we've done. Rebel cheese is the best for that. And they also have like subscription boxes, which I think saves a little bit of money.
Yeah, cool. So that's kind of the cheese landscape.
And if you have any other cheeses that you really like, let us know and we'll try to find them and try them.
For sure. Next up might be condiments. So these are there's only a couple of condiments really that you rely on that have animal products. Because like ketchup and mustard, those are typically fine. Those are always vegan.
Right.
But stuff like mayonnaise has eggs. So Follow Your Heart has a vegan mayonnaise, and then Hellmann's has a plant-based mayonnaise.
I personally prefer the Follow Your Heart one. I think it tastes really good.
Yeah.
We tried the Just mayo, and I didn't really like that.
They should stick to the eggs.
Yeah. You can also make your own mayo. Like I make my mayo out of silken tofu if I'm using a bunch. It doesn't stay in the fridge very long, so I wouldn't really recommend making your own unless you're using it all in like a coleslaw or something quickly.
Yeah. That's not the like jar of mayonnaise you keep around for 3 months.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next up, ranch dressing. Obviously, several animal ingredients typically, but Follow Your Heart has a really good ranch dressing.
Yeah, and I think Hidden Valley Ranch has a vegan ranch too, and that one's pretty good. I still prefer Follow Your Heart. And I think Follow Your Heart has a couple other creamy dressings.
They have a couple.
Like Caesar and maybe a couple others. But either way, I like the Follow Your Heart ranch a lot.
Yeah.
And then I guess while we're on the topic of like condiments, does butter fall into condiments?
Sure, because it's not anywhere else on our list. So.
That's true. Now, if you've been in the grocery store in the last 2 months, you may have noticed that like vegan butter is, I don't know what's going on with vegan butter, but we're like having to try out all kinds of different new vegan butter because all of the ones we used to buy are gone.
Yeah, hard to find.
Yeah. My favorite was Miyoko's. Don't know what's going on with that. Earth Balance is pretty good for baking. What other ones have we been trying? Country Crock.
Country Crock has like an avocado oil based one, and then another one that is a different oil. I can't remember right now. They have 2 different kinds.
Yeah. Violife has a butter block that's fine. Most of them are pretty much the same. I would say Miyoko's was like the standout in the field because it had like some unique flavor to it, but the rest are kind of like whatever.
I also read recently that I Can't Believe It's Not Butter is now accidentally vegan as of fairly recently. So.
Yeah, I think I saw that on Reddit too.
So next up is meat substitution. So this is another big one. People really like the texture, taste of meat a lot of the time.
Some people are actually disgusted by the texture of meat. So the ones that I think are really gross because I don't like the texture of meats might work really well for you if you're really trying to get that texture.
Yeah, the more you dislike it, the closer it is to real meat.
Holy shit. What was the Beyond ground beef actually made me cry while I was trying to cook it. I had an actual panic attack. It was just not good for me. So if you really want ground beef.
That's a recommendation, by the way. We got to get the Beyond Cow in on it.
Yeah. So good it makes me cry.
Some other ones are Gardein. They do a lot of the like frozen nugget shaped type things.
They have a lot of good stuff.
Fish sticks, like chicken tender, think that kind of thing. They do a
crab
lot of
cakes.
Yeah, crab cakes.
I think they also have some, and I don't know if they still have these, but the ones that you can just kind of like throw in the microwave in a bag and like end up with like orange chicken or
yeah.
I think they had like an Alfredo one at some point. I don't know. They've got Gardein is like pretty high on my list of like frozen ones I really enjoy.
And they actually usually have pretty solid protein in them. So
yeah, the macros are not bad. I think they also have their own burgers and stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really used that too much.
And then also for burgers specifically, Beyond and Impossible, I'm sure everybody has heard of these by now, but they are kind of the go-to burger patties and ground meat
stuff.
Substitute. Yeah.
Yeah. Boca also makes a veggie burger that has really good macros. And then let's see. There are a couple other ones. I think Gardein might even have a burger patty.
Yeah.
Either way, all around the same macros, pretty burgery, Yeah. It will meet your burger needs.
And then if you're thinking more in terms of sandwiches, Tofurkey is a brand that has a lot of tofu-based kind of deli meat type things.
Yeah.
They have a smoked turkey is like their main one, I think, but they have a couple
And they have
others.
a ham, too.
Yeah.
They also sell Tofurkeys around Thanksgiving, like a big roast.
Yeah.
But yeah, the macros on those are always they're like pretty comparable to like actual lunch meat. So
yeah, those are pretty good for protein. And then in the jerky realm, the most popular brand is Louisville Vegan Jerky, and it's also our favorite. They have a smoky Carolina barbecue flavor that's really good.
Yep. Then there's Seitan. Blackbird is like my personal favorite, but they're not at very many stores. For some reason, they put their pizzas in stores, and I don't like their pizzas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you please put your wings and stuff in stores?
Yeah, their wings are great. You just have to, order them a case at a time and keep them frozen, so it's a little...
Then you need to buy an extra freezer. It's like a whole ordeal. So, hey, Blackbird, go put your wings places. We don't want your pizza.
Yeah. If you're in Texas, last time we were there anyway, they did have the Seitan, the barbecue Seitan and the Korean Seitan at H-E-B. So you might check that out.
Yeah, that was actually where we found it. Yeah. Upton also has good Seitan.
Oh, yeah. Upton is really good. I forgot about Upton.
Yeah, they've got like crumbles. And then there are a couple other brands. Daring.
Yeah,
we recently tried that. They have pretty good chicken.
Yeah, Daring has a really good Cajun chicken, specifically if you like spicy stuff. I like that a lot.
I personally haven't tried it because I can't do spicy.
Really good macros too. Kind of expensive. But
yeah,
really
the macros are really good. And then the makers of Just Egg put out.
Yeah, they're just meat chicken alternative.
We haven't had a chance to try that because it's not near us. Yeah. Like we haven't found any, but
somebody online told us it was really good.
Yeah.
Next up, moving away from meat, are some egg substitutes. So eggs are another one that are like kind of in everything, especially if you're doing baking, things like that. So it's good to know some substitute options there.
Yeah. So if you're just wanting scrambled eggs, Just Egg is pretty good. Like the liquid Just Egg works pretty well.
Yeah.
Also, I would recommend a tofu scramble. It is not really super egg-like, but it kind of like fills the void of scrambled eggs.
A tofu scramble with a bunch of nutritional yeast is pretty close to
It's pretty close. Yeah. The macros are really good. Just Egg also makes frozen patties that work really well in like breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah, egg patties.
Egg patties, yeah. If you're baking with egg, if you're looking for an egg substitute for baking, I personally don't use Just Egg for baking.
Yeah.
I really like a flax egg.
Yeah.
Basically a tablespoon of ground flax combined with like 3 tablespoons of water and let that sit for 5 minutes, and that gives you like about an egg.
Yeah. If you don't want to do that, Bob's Red Mill also sells something just called Egg Replacer.
Yeah. That one's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I always go back to the flax egg, but I also like pumpkin puree works well as an egg substitute, so does applesauce or like mashed up bananas.
Yeah.
Some of those will add some extra flavor, but I actually find that pumpkin puree works really well.
Yeah.
Doesn't have too much flavor on its own. And blended silken tofu is also a good egg substitute.
Silken tofu is good for pretty much everything.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you're looking for an egg white substitute, most people go with aquafaba, which is like the bean water that you would normally drain from a can of chickpeas. So also, here is like a really fun fact is that the Plantiseer on Instagram, we talked about her last podcast. She has a lot of good ideas, guys. But she apparently told me that she freezes them into like ice cubes so she can use them later.
Oh, the aquafaba?
Yeah.
That's really
which is like genius because like if you're making hummus, you're probably not also making something that would need egg whites. So yeah, she'll just like drain the can of chickpeas and put it into ice cube molds and have them for later.
It's a super good idea.
She bakes a lot, so it makes sense. But I was like, holy shit, that's genius. It could be life-changing for you if you are someone who bakes and also messes around with chickpeas. So
All right. Next up in the snack realm. So a couple of cheesy snacks. Again, these are just things that maybe you munched on before, hyper palatable foods that you're just having a hard time getting away from. Like if you're trying to go vegan, but you keep going back to the
Cheetos,
and
yeah.
and stuff like that.
You have, like, honestly, if you're someone who likes snacks and you're going vegan, you got to find something that will, like, fill the void when you're having cravings so you don't accidentally go buy a bunch of non-vegan snacks.
Yeah, and this is also probably a good point to reiterate the idea that going vegan does not necessarily mean like you have to go to healthier food right away.
Yeah.
Like those are really two different journeys or ever, yeah. So you can like just switch your normal junk food to vegan junk food. And then like if you want to get healthier, that's like its own thing.
Yeah.
You know? And if you want to do them both at the same time, that's great. But there are going to be a lot of people who do want to go vegan, but they're not really ready to do the health thing for whatever reason.
This is for eliminating animal products. Also, we're not like telling you to only eat these foods.
Oh, sure.
This is like really just how do I help my cravings so I don't give in to animal products?
Right. Yeah. But yeah, cheesy snacks.
Dude, cheesy snacks always have me in a chokehold. Like, I have eaten a lot of vegan cheesy snacks, and I will tell you, I always go back to, what is it? The Flavor Blast white cheddar hit peas
Flavor Blast Explosion.
Oh, holy shit, they're so good. But like the other hit peas are good too. If you want a more proteiny snack, Endurance makes protein chips, although some of them are sold out right now, which is very annoying. But I like the nacho ones. And you like, which one do you like?
The sweet chili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bada Beans has so many flavors. I don't know necessarily they have a cheesy flavor, but they have like, man, what do I like? The sweet onion and mustard one is my favorite. And you have a couple favorites too.
They have a buffalo that I really like.
Yeah. And then if you're another protein snack you might check out is the gym snack. They have a cheddar and they have like a jalapeno cheddar.
Yeah.
And those are both pretty good. And I think they're like 40% protein. So another good little protein snack. And then we actually tried, Crisp Power.
Oh, yeah, the pretzel bites.
Pretzel bites, yeah. So I tried the cheddar ones. Holy fuck, those are like really good and super addictive.
The hot ones are good too.
Yeah.
I like those a lot. And
they
high
were,
protein.
Yeah. We did not like the everything bagel ones. They were kind of mid, but...
Yeah.
And then they also had like a cinnamon sugar one that I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah, it was pretty mild.
Yeah.
There,
but that cheddar one, we already ordered another box. They're really good.
Yeah. Then, like for chocolate snacks, there's a couple of the big brands that have a couple plant-based options, like Reese's and Hershey's. Both have a vegan version. They're kind of hard to find, but they are out there.
Yeah, for some reason, CVS seems to have them.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Thank you, CVS. We appreciate you.
Yeah, CVS, for whatever reason, actually has a lot of the vegan type options that other places don't keep in stock very well sometimes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not sure what's going on there, but we really like it.
Yeah, keep it up, CVS.
Next up is Lindt. Not next up. Also Lindt.
Are those the truffles?
Yeah, those are the chocolate truffles.
Oh my god.
And they also have the
chocolate bars.
and those use oat milk.
Dude, the truffles are so good. They taste just like the dairy version.
Yeah, they're very creamy.
They're good, like, little present. Like, Valentine's Day is coming up. If you want to buy yourself chocolate or chocolate for someone else,
yeah,
those truffles.
Yeah. And then another one of the more popular, I think, vegan chocolate brands is Unreal. They do like peanut butter cups and a couple other little chocolatey snack type things.
And then there's Chomp chocolate that you can only order online. They're like on 2.0 at this point, so a lot of their original products are gone. We haven't tried any of their new products, but they're back.
The originals were really good.
The originals were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you're using chocolate in baking or cooking, Enjoy Life makes a lot of vegan chocolate chips.
Yeah, that's our go-to. They have just chocolate, and then they also have a white chocolate, and they melt nicely, and they work great for all of your baking confections.
Yeah. And then on the ice cream front, Ben & Jerry's has a lot of their flavors in a non-dairy version.
Wait, is it Ben's now? Didn't Jerry like peace out over all the political stuff?
Yeah, I think there was something there, but I'm not sure. I think it's still called Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah. So I don't know if Jerry wants you to be buying the ice cream right now. So if he doesn't, I'm not sure, Jerry. You can let us know. Breyers makes really good oat milk ice cream.
Like an oat milk vanilla. That's super soft.
My parents actually like switched to it because they like it better than the dairy version.
Yeah, I think
they also have a couple other flavors too.
Yeah.
But it comes in the big tub.
Yeah.
But I really like it. And then you can add your own mix-ins.
That's true. There's a couple other smaller brands like Nada Moo and So Delicious.
Nada Moo is actually really good.
Yeah.
And then they have pints.
Yeah.
And then So Delicious has the ice cream bars that are really good.
Yeah, couple options there. And then for cookies, Sweet Lorenz is like a kind of take it home, bake it yourself cookie.
Yeah, a lot of good flavors.
Mm-hmm. And then Drizzlicious is not really a cookie,
it's like
a little
rice cake.
Rice puff with chocolate drizzled on it.
They're really good. They're like more of a low-calorie snack that kind of hits your sweet tooth. And then I guess for cookies, Oreos are back on the table.
Back on the menu, boys.
On...
yeah. And then protein bars, back in kind of the healthy realm a little bit. Misfits makes a lot of good vegan flavors. And then Bear Bells also make a lot of good vegan. But they have a couple new plant-based flavors.
Yeah.
Although Bear Bells
changed. Yeah. They're not as good.
Bear Bells changed their recipe. It's a little different now, so you have to try it.
I'm going to recommend Misfits.
And then
Misfits is fully vegan. And they've got crunch to their bars, which I like when they're crunchy and not nasty.
No Cow is also fully vegan. That's my favorite.
Nobody wants those. I'm just kidding. They have the best macros, but if you like crunchy, it's not it.
Yeah. Cool. So kind of the next phase that you might be looking for food alternatives in is when you go out to a restaurant.
Yeah. So the first recommendation we'll give you is downloaded Happy Cow.
Yeah, definitely. Happy Cow is an app where you can find vegan and vegetarian restaurants pretty much anywhere in the world. So if you just go in there, say, show me restaurants near me, everything in there is at least vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
If you can look for fully vegan restaurants, or you can just find restaurants with vegan options.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there'll be probably a couple near you that you've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm. And there will be a couple in there that literally they don't have anything on the menu, but someone decided to put it in Happy Cow and give it a 4-star rating because they have breadsticks.
Yeah, you got to avoid those. It's not as bad on Happy Cow as it is on like the delivery apps though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Some of the big restaurant options though that we have seen that are good are Taco Bell. Taco Bell, if you put stuff fresco style, and pick beans, there's a lot of vegan options there actually.
Yeah. So fresco style removes the sour cream and the cheese and any other dairy products they have, and it replaces it with
Pico de Gallo.
Pico de Gallo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good option. And, since it's so bean focused, there's a lot of like protein.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it high protein, but like it's filling for sure.
And it's like mostly whole food. So
yeah, it's actually people make fun of Taco Bell, but it's a really healthy option as long as you're pulling off the dairy products.
Yeah. Next is Chipotle. Kind of the same thing, like a bigger Taco Bell, but they have a flavored marinated tofu called sofritas.
Yeah.
So you can basically get a very high protein double tofu bowl with a bunch of fresh vegetables and beans and stuff.
Yeah, and it's very customizable, so you can add on whatever you want.
Yep.
The next up is like a noodle bowl, poke bowl, rice bowl restaurant. There's a lot of those around now, which is great because they have great options.
Yeah.
You can customize your own bowl. You can add on a lot of veggies, usually like a rice base or maybe a noodle base. And then the best part is they almost always have tofu.
Yeah.
At least one kind of tofu.
We found one near us that uses really good sweet potato noodles.
Yeah. What is it called?
Bibimbap or
Bibimbap? Bibimbap?
Yeah, bibimbap.
It's super good.
And then Asian restaurants. A lot of the Asian restaurants have vegan options. A lot of them have tofu as an option, so another protein option.
Like Chinese, Thai, Japanese. Thank you for having tofu. You guys make great tofu.
Yeah. Indian restaurants, very vegetarian friendly, but a lot of them do have a couple of vegan options as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those will have tofu too.
Yeah. Burger King, surprisingly, they have the Impossible Burger still. I know a lot of places are pulling stuff like that off their menu, but Burger King has still got theirs.
Holding strong so far.
Yeah. It does come with, I think, like a mayonnaise you have to take off, but it doesn't come with cheese.
Yeah, it doesn't come with cheese.
Make sure you don't order it with cheese.
Yeah. Take it home and put on a slice of your own cheese.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's an Impossible Burger patty, so a little bit of protein there too. Mediterranean restaurants, not a great protein option, but they do have falafel, hummus. If they have vegan pita bread, sometimes you can get that too.
Yeah, sometimes they have wraps too, like falafel wraps.
Yeah.
Pretty decent option.
Love a good falafel.
Mm-hmm.
And then smoothie places. A lot of those have plant protein add-ons nowadays. So you can go get a smoothie bowl with a bunch of fruits and add in some plant protein to it.
Yeah, they usually will let you add in plant protein powder to the actual smoothie part. And then like you can get add-ons like nut butters and nuts and seeds. And then like while we're talking about restaurants, we should probably mention like social outings or like eating out can be, I think, one of the trickier things with going vegan. Like as far as, things that like directly impact the way you've been living.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's one of the big hangups for people. And I think that's one of the main things that makes people go back to not doing the vegan diet is just like, I can't go out with my friends anymore. I have a lot of trouble like trying to coordinate social events with this vegan diet thing. So,
yeah. So I think, I'm an introvert. So my advice is, woohoo, no more social outings. Or like, find some vegans.
Yeah.
Some new vegan friends. But also, I think my real advice would be maybe look on Happy Cow, try to find some. First off, like if you have really cool friends, they might want to go check out vegan restaurants with you. Like we have friends that will go out to vegan restaurants with us.
Yeah. Which
is awesome.
Because, everybody can eat vegan food because it's just all the other food that's not the animal product part.
Yeah, everyone. Vegan food is for everybody. But, if your friends are like less inclined to eat vegan food, you could always find maybe some omnivore restaurants that have a good vegan option. Maybe that would work. Suggest things.
Yeah.
I will say like on the work front, this comes up a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
But my recommendation there would be as soon as you decide you're going vegan, I would as soon as the first work event comes up, you just gotta like rip the Band-Aid off and tell them so that you don't have to keep, like if you let it slide once, they'll just kind of take advantage of, this person doesn't really care if there's an option for them. They'll just bring their lunch. So I think my recommendation is to like talk to your supervisor or manager, whoever's coordinating a lunch and learn or whatever, or like a work outing after work.
Yeah.
Try to get some vegan options in there.
Yeah, just slowly, over time, I'm vegan. Oh, I can't go to that. I'm vegan. Blah, blah, blah. And then maybe some will eventually show up.
That's true. The next thing up will be cooking because depending on where you live, you might not have very many vegan options.
Yeah, I will say if you're going to go vegan, you're going to want to learn to cook at least as much as you can.
Yeah, and maybe you can find some really easy meals, but you should, I think, for me, that is like my number one piece of advice, period, is like have a couple recipes that you can make and that you enjoy eating. Because I don't know, I mean, we're like about an hour from Chicago, and Chicago has so many options, but where we live, I wouldn't call it a vegan desert, but it's not real great.
Yeah, we've only got a few options here that are really reliable.
Yeah, and you'll get burned out of those really fast.
Yeah.
So I think learning how to cook a couple meals that you really like is like the best advice anyone can give you. And I think vegan cooking can be kind of intimidating because, you're not using all of those things that you were using with vegan meats, vegan dairy substitutions.
Right. Yeah. Also, if you're trying to figure out what to cook, you can go to the Protein Deficient Vegan website and get a bunch of high-protein vegan recipes.
Yes. And there are also other really amazing recipe sites out there that aren't just mine.
Sure.
But yeah, you should go try mine out. But honestly, there's so many vegan food blogs and vegan baking blogs out there. Like, you're going to find something that resonates with you.
Yeah.
And, like, just try some easy stuff. I know when I first went vegan, I've actually only made my recipes and Nora's recipes.
Yeah.
But, like, Nora was a huge lifeline for me when I went vegan because I just didn't know what to do with anything. Like,
yeah.
So find someone whose recipes that you like and try, like, some easy stuff. Even if it's just eating, like, a quesadilla or, like, a burger. Like, just, you can rely on substitutes early on.
Yeah, for sure.
Since I have a vegan food blog, I thought I would just throw out some of my tips that may or may not be useful to you. Or, like, ideas that may or may not be useful to you.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so my first one is important to know that most vegan cheeses are pretty much just coconut oil.
Yeah.
So they're not really going to work the same way as their dairy counterparts. For instance, if you're trying to make a creamy mac and cheese, just having shredded vegan cheese is probably not going to make it creamy. It's going to be oily. So you might need to add in like blended cashews or silken tofu, just because vegan cheese is a lot more oily than dairy cheese.
Yeah.
So it's something to understand. Same with like the cream cheese, right? Also, if you have been eating a lot of cheese and if you're someone who tracks your protein and calories and stuff, you've probably been getting protein from your cheese. And so it's just important to know that you're not getting protein from vegan cheese anymore.
No, and I think that's actually I've read before, like that's one of the reasons that sometimes you can run into protein issues. It's just a normal vegan not thinking about protein or thinking about fitness or anything, is because you're getting protein from dairy that you weren't even really thinking about, dairy and eggs and stuff like that. You hadn't really considered that. So you switch and you have these options that aren't really protein centric anymore.
Yeah, I think that's true because a lot of times when you're an omnivore, you think of like meat and your milk and your eggs as protein sources. But like if you've been eating cheese, or like if you're a vegetarian and a lot of your protein might have been coming from cheese or something like that, a lot of these are they're not made with protein. They're oil based. So like they just don't have anywhere near the same macros. So it's just important to know if that's something you care about. And then we already talked about the egg replacer, think for baking, maybe like blended silken tofu or pumpkin puree, applesauce, a flax egg. Okay, next tip would be that a lot of our plant-based protein options like tofu, TVP, homemade seitan, stuff like that, tempeh, they don't have much flavor on their own, so it's really important that you're very liberal with your spices. I'm liberal and also liberal with my spices. Because that's really where you're getting a lot of your flavor from.
Yeah, it's funny because I'll watch you make your own recipes and you're like, I'm just going to add a little more.
Yeah, I said like a tablespoon of vanilla, but what if I should have more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the key difference is if it goes wrong, you can only blame yourself.
Yeah, and usually like what I wrote down is right.
Right.
I'm just so used to adding more to other people's. To add flavor, you're usually going to focus on spices and herbs, like fresh herbs really add a lot of flavor. But you can also use things like soy sauce or nutritional yeast or miso to add like an umami flavor and like some additional depth.
Yeah, nutritional yeast comes in clutch in a whole lot of different ways.
We use it all the time, and it's also very high in protein.
Yeah. Good tip.
It's a good one. Blended silken tofu is also a great way to add protein to like your salad dressings, pasta sauces, smoothies, cheese sauces, soups, and like any other condiments you have like sour cream and mayo.
Yeah.
But if you don't really care too much about, protein, blended cashews are also a good way to add creaminess to sauces and stuff. Just make sure you have a good blender.
Yeah.
Because we made like a cashew mac and cheese before we got a Vitamix, and it was like very gritty, and it was like a good blender, and I soaked the shit out of those cashews, and it was still gritty.
Yeah, this is one of the things that actually, convinced us that Vitamix is worth the hype.
Yeah, cashews. Anything with cashews are going to be better in a Vitamix. So if you don't have the money to spend on a Vitamix, and you don't want a gritty texture, just use silken tofu. Yeah. That's my opinion.
If you are working with tofu a lot, you might need a tofu press to get some of the water out and some of the different types of tofu. And if you don't want to get a tofu press, you can also just stack a bunch of heavy books on top of your tofu to squeeze the water out.
That's true. Our textbooks have to be good for something, right? We have like a whole shelf of old college textbooks that we don't look at.
Yeah, and if you try to sell it, you'll get $20 for your $300
I know. That's why I held on to them. Yeah. I was like, you're not making money off this $200 textbook I bought last semester. And so now I have like 50 college textbooks about random chemistry shit.
Yeah.
That I probably especially won't be reading now that I'm doing food blogging. So yeah, but so for the tofus that you would want to press, it would be like anything that's not super firm tofu or silken tofu.
Right.
So your firm tofu, your extra firm tofu, you want to press those.
Yeah, I don't think pressing silken tofu would work out very
well. If you do want to press silken tofu, though, you can freeze it first.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you thaw it, I don't know, it's crazy. Like it unlocks a lot of the water from it, and then you can press it.
Yeah.
And it makes it look like it's so weird. Yeah. It adds like these weird like layers. Yeah. It's very meaty. Yeah. And also you can do that with normal tofu too. Freezing and unfreezing and then pressing it actually gives it a meatier texture.
Yeah.
So just keep that in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. But I can't even remember to press my tofu beforehand, so I definitely rarely remember to freeze and unfreeze and then press my tofu. So
yeah,
that's why we buy super firm tofu. Yeah, so speaking of tofu, a lot of people cube it, which I don't mind. Cubing's fine. But I would also recommend you try shredding it with like a vegetable grater.
Yeah.
crumbling it by hand, or like thinly slicing it, which you could do with a knife if you're good at cutting things, or you could buy like a wide vegetable peeler. But the reason these work so well is because you're adding surface area to the tofu, which means that like more water can be released, which will give it a meatier texture, but also you can get like spices to stick better.
Yeah. Yeah, a big part of making tofu taste good is getting the spices to actually like
Adhere
to the tofu and soak into the tofu.
And getting the water to release, like if you don't want like a soggy, mushy texture.
Yeah.
So like more surface area is your friend. And if you're hellbent on the cubes, maybe try tearing it, because if you tear it, you end up with all those like little ridges and stuff, and things are going to stick better to that than like very, very smooth lines that you get from cutting with a knife.
Yeah.
All right, now that we covered tofu, like some just high-level tips on seitan. Kneading it is going to make it more chewy, and over-kneading it will make it rubbery.
So don't do that.
So you don't want that. I've heard people use a food processor to knead their seitan. I've seen a lot of people talk about this, like just chuck it in the food processor to knead your seitan. I did this and broke a food processor.
Oh, that's right.
And so, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
I think you could, if you have like a stand mixer, that would probably work because it's used to kneading like doughs and stuff. But I personally would not recommend you use it in a food processor, because there's a chance it's going to break your food processor. It like burned the motor out completely. Yeah. I didn't even have it in there that long. So that's a thing I wouldn't recommend. Wrapping your seitan dough in parchment paper and then aluminum foil keeps it from expanding, and that will prevent your seitan from going bready. Now, I make a lot of bready things with seitan, but this is specifically advice if you're making like meaty seitan, because it's like a dough, and it's wheat gluten. It has the propensity to like expand and get like airy and doughy. So you really need to think of ways that you can keep it from expanding to keep it like dense, Yeah. That's like the main thing, is like keep it constricted. So double wrapping it is a good method. You can also, so sometimes I'll make like, I have a barbecue seitan recipe on my site.
Yeah.
But if you saute like the dough first on both sides, it kind of keeps it from expanding as well. So that'll keep it from getting light and airy too. And then on that note, Vital Wheat Gluten isn't just for meat replacements, which you already know if you've ever looked at any of my recipes. I use it for like bready stuff, desserts, and also like bready desserts.
Yeah, we just finished a loaf of pumpkin bread, like high protein pumpkin bread made from Vital Wheat Gluten.
Yeah. So the key is like, okay, so if you're going to use it for like bready stuff, you don't really want to go more than like maybe a 1-to-2 ratio of like Vital Wheat Gluten to flour. So like 1 part Vital Wheat Gluten to 2 parts flour. Anything more than that's going to lead it more towards like the seitan. So that's for like breads, pizza doughs, pretzels, bagels, blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to do like desserts, I like to go full Vital Wheat Gluten, and the way that I keep it from being like meaty seitan is to add ingredients that will like disrupt the gluten formation. So things like sugar are really good about that, syrup, mashed bananas, stuff like that. Kind of disrupts the gluten structure from forming all the way. So, and I also make sure I use leavening agents.
Yeah. What does that do?
It like adds airy springiness to it, so that's why the bread like.
So it's not stodgy.
Yeah, it's not stodgy. It doesn't remind you of meat. It's nice and airy, and it looks like bread.
Yeah,
and it's still like a little chewier than not Vital Wheat Gluten stuff, but like taste wise, it tastes about the same.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, as long as you're disrupting the gluten formation and making sure you're adding leavening agents, it's also actually not that chewy.
I agree. I really like the bready type stuff that you've been doing with it.
And then just a couple tips on TVP. So I know there are like different methods for rehydrating TVP, but me personally, I like to put dry TVP in a pan with my water and all my spices and mix that up really well before I ever add heat to make sure the spices are all distributed well. And then if you've ever done that, you'll notice that like it sticks to your pan, no matter how nonstick your pan is. So I definitely recommend like a wooden spatula for like scraping your pan without destroying your pan.
Yeah.
And then TVP is also great for like baked goods, or if you want to replace half of your oats with TVP and oatmeal. It's also good for like high protein breadcrumbs or making your own high protein granola.
Yeah.
What's your favorite way to eat TVP?
Muffins.
Muffins?
My favorite way is muffins.
That's mine too. A perfect, easy, high protein breakfast. And then on the protein realm, like just swapping pasta for protein pasta. Anytime you eat pasta is like a great way to add extra protein without really changing much.
Yeah.
You know, like if you are just going vegan and you have a lot of favorite meals, but you're not really like super focused on protein, but you want to make sure you're getting enough protein.
Right.
I think the protein pasta swap's a really easy one.
Yeah. Stuff like that, the protein, this is a little slightly off topic, but the stuff like that with the protein pasta swaps is also good for people who are taking those new weight loss drugs because you're not really like doing the fitness thing necessarily, but you're getting a little less calories. So just swap in something that you're going to normally eat anyway. Like when you can eat food, when you're hungry on that drug, you can do something like protein pasta to just get a little extra protein.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So a lot of products, you're seeing a lot of products come out now that's like the same thing, but protein. And a lot of that is because of those drugs. So.
A lot of those are pretty bullshit, though. Like the protein Pop-Tarts, it's got like, okay, come on.
Yeah, you go from 1 gram to 3 grams and now you're protein Pop-Tarts.
Like, you have the same percentage of protein as a potato. You're not a protein Pop-Tart.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's definitely happening.
But, like, I think protein pasta is a good one because it's usually like 30 to 40% protein.
Yeah.
Or, like, low-carb wraps are another good one.
Oh, those are so good for that.
And then, you know, some other, like, little whole food kind of high protein snack options would be like dry roasted edamame are really good. And so are those bada beans.
Oh yeah, the bada beans are really good.
Yeah. And then another ingredient you maybe haven't heard of too much is edamame puffs. So I like
Don't tell anybody else about them. We won't be able to order them anymore.
I make sure we have stock before I ever mention it. But edamame puffs are great. They're made from basically like soy protein and a little bit of rice starch, and they puff up. And I use them in the same way I'd use puffed rice.
Yeah.
So basically Rice Krispies or like homemade granola bars or homemade protein powder, homemade protein bars, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like my favorite ingredient.
They're so good.
Homemade puppy chow that you can eat for cereal.
Yeah, man, the puppy chow is so good. And then obviously the Rice Krispie treats are like outstanding. So
yeah. So we like edamame puffs. You should like edamame puffs. Also, money-wise, they're pretty cheap on a like $1 per gram of protein basis. If you're in the U.S. I don't really know about outside the U.S. But anyways, those are like some of my cooking pieces of advice, I guess. Random thoughts.
Stream of consciousness on vegan cooking.
Take it or leave it. I don't know if it's useful.
Definitely good tips.
And then for like just some more helpful kitchen type stuff, having a good blender, I think was the biggest thing for me when I went vegan.
Yeah. And again, like we were looking at Vitamix and we're like, oh, really? How much better is it?
They're so expensive.
I know. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're much better than other blenders.
I know. It's really annoying when like the expensive thing is actually worth the hype.
I know.
It's very irritating. They have pretty good sales on Black Friday though. So like put it on your wish list if you don't have one. I do think it's the best blender and it does what it says it does and it is better. And I'm sorry for that.
Also, you can use a steaming basket. For you mainly use it for seitan, I think.
Yeah.
But you can also steam vegetables and stuff with it.
That's true.
It's good to have around.
Yeah. I have those, I think they're bamboo based.
Yeah.
But they're like, they stack on top of a pot that I have.
Yeah.
But they also have collapsible metal ones that kind of fit in whatever pot.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend that as like a cheap option.
You just put some water in the bottom, you set the thing on top, it sits a couple inches above the water, and then all the steam cooks what you have in the basket. Really simple. And very cheap.
Very cheap. And then the next one is you hear a lot about air fryers. And I like my air fryer, but I rarely use it, to be honest. And I know a lot of people use it more. And I also think a lot of people use it just because they don't want to turn on the oven because it's a lot faster. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But if you don't really mind turning on your oven and you want the same kind of performance of an air fryer, I really like a copper crisping tray. It's got like a lot of holes in it, so you get all like kind of the same airflow situation as you would inside of an air fryer.
Yeah, I never tried these even before I saw yours, but they would have been nice to have my whole life. They just like it cooks stuff really evenly. It kind of gives it that little bit of fried texture on the outside, even if you don't use oil and stuff. They're really nice.
Yeah, you don't really have to like flip stuff over in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My grandma always had one because she was like, she really liked frozen like junk food, like she really liked French fries, right? So she was like, they're so good for French fries. But yeah, she just like chuck French fries in them, and then she got me one for Christmas one year, and I was like, holy shit! Now we have like 3 because I cook a lot. So yeah, but they're a lot cheaper than an air fryer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And they'll probably last a lot longer.
Probably.
Copper, so probably outlive you.
They probably will.
I don't know about the coating on the outside. We have a couple that are kind of chipping, but the actual basket itself.
But just be gentle. Yeah. I'm not very gentle with things.
Next, a kitchen scale can be good for both preparing food and tracking your calories. So there are a lot of powders and stuff when you're baking where you can't really use the measuring cups, can't really use the spoons because you're not going to get a very accurate measurement. Yeah. So you just, put your bowl on the scale, measure out 200 grams of flour or whatever you have going on, and you're off to the races.
I think this is especially important for like if you're cooking with Vital Wheat gluten specifically, because it's so dense. But I think protein powders are like kind of crazy.
You know what? Actually, I just had, okay, this is also a little off topic, but I just had the Veganuary giveaway for personal training. And I had a client that I was just talking to a couple of days ago, and he told me that he's been using protein powder for a while, the same one, and he thought that he was getting like 40 or 60 grams out of his scoops because he was doing a couple servings. But it actually turns out that he went and measured it one time, and it was so far off that what he thought was like 50 to 60 grams was actually only 20 grams.
That's crazy.
The scoop itself was so inaccurate.
Yeah, the scoops they give you are garbage. Yeah. Like, so if you're really, really tracking specifically protein powder, you should definitely be weighing that shit because their scoops they're just not good.
I know. I did a little short video on it like a year or two ago, and the one I looked at was off by like 50%. It was pretty significant.
Yeah, you looked at a few of them.
Yeah, they were. I mean,
and they were all off.
Every one I looked at was all off. The worst offender was like 50% off.
Yeah, some of them will be off in the direction of like, oh no, you ate 50% more calories, and some of them will be off of like, actually, you hardly eat anything.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So and you never know what it's going to be.
Kitchen scales, very helpful tool.
Yeah. And then I just, some random spices that I use or like flavorings that I would recommend. Like if you're just starting like your cooking journey, but you would like an arsenal of things that you can use for almost anything, these are kind of the ones I'd recommend. So garlic powder adds depth, aroma, and a savory flavor. I use it in everything.
Yeah, we do have a lot of garlic. I didn't even know I liked garlic until I started eating your cooking.
I know. You told me you hated garlic and onions, and I'm like, well, that sucks because it's in everything I cook. And now he's a believer.
And she means everything. Anytime the stove comes on, the garlic comes out.
Yeah, and it's heart healthy too, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, it's
heart healthy.
You should have some garlic.
Good for like blood vessels, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, keeps the vampires away.
Yeah, very useful.
Yeah, it's got a lot of. It's multi-use. Onion powder is another good one. It's similar to garlic powder. It adds some depth, aroma, savory flavor. I think these two are good if you're like wanting the flavor but don't have the time to like be chopping garlic and onions to add the flavor to your dishes. I usually use both, like fresh onion and garlic and then also spices, but like this is a good one to like save you time if you still want the flavor but you don't have time to chop onions and garlic or you don't want to cry.
Right. Also things like chili powder and smoked paprika to get a little bit of that spicy, smoky flavor.
Yeah. And then nutritional yeast, which we've talked about before, but it has like a nice cheesy, savory umami flavor. Like it's mostly good for adding like a cheesy flavor, but I also like it just for like the savory, earthy flavor it has.
Yeah.
Basil is good if you're going to be cooking like Italian food. It adds like a sweet, peppery, and like a slightly minty flavor.
Yeah. And then one of my favorites is dill. There's a bunch of protein snacks that are vegan that have dill flavor. I really like that. Yeah. But also you use dill when you cook. So
yeah, it's good for like ranch dressing. Yeah. If you're making your own ranch dressing. Yeah, it has like a fresh, grassy, citrusy flavor. But yeah, think that flavor you get from ranch dressing.
Mm-hmm. Also, extremely easy to grow in your own kitchen.
Oh my God, yeah. We bought one of those little arrow grow things, arrow garden.
Arrow garden, yeah.
Yeah, and we put, wow, holy shit, we had way too much dill. And we were like, I don't know what to do with this. This is just so much dill.
And it was just from one little spray.
It was crazy. Yeah, so you can grow your own in your own home.
As much as you will ever need.
For sure. Yeah, because like fresh herbs are really a great way to add flavor to your stuff, especially like vegan cooking.
And they're kind of expensive in the store. So if
they
you
are.
have some you can grow super
and they
easily.
go bad fast in the fridge.
Yeah.
So growing your own, we should really start growing our own again. Ground mustard seed, you don't see this too often. And like, I don't know, I feel like this is like a second tier if you're like really trying to expand your spices.
Yeah.
But I like to use it in cheese sauces because it adds kind of like a tanginess.
Yeah, a little bite.
Yeah. So I would recommend it.
Yeah. And then you have like the umami blends and mushroom powder type stuff to get that earthy flavor.
Yeah. So most of those are usually just like some form of mushroom powder. I've been really liking this like umami powder I've been using for a lot of stuff that I think it's mostly shiitake mushroom based, but it has like a nice like earthy umami flavor to stuff.
Yeah.
And then black salt, also known as kala namak.
Yeah.
I might have pronounced that wrong. If I did, I'm sorry. But that adds like a really eggy flavor. But it will make your fart smell bad.
Yeah. Just like eggs, I guess.
Because it's like very sulfury.
Yeah.
And so like we bought one a couple years ago and it's still going strong because you barely use any of it. Like maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16 of a teaspoon when you're cooking.
Yeah.
For that like eggy flavor. So it's just really a good way to make your tofu scrambles taste more like eggs.
Yeah.
But yeah, be very gentle with it. This is the only time I'm ever going to tell you to be conservative.
Yeah.
Be conservative with your black salt. Cinnamon is your favorite.
Oh yeah, I use cinnamon in my oatmeal every morning, so I really like cinnamon.
Yeah, it adds like a nice warm flavor. It's great for baking. Anything sweet. It's also like could be like a secret ingredient in a chili or something.
Yeah, it's good for that.
Pumpkin pie spice is my favorite. It's like the perfect way to make you feel like you're living in fall again.
Yeah.
It was funny because we made pumpkin bread 2 days ago and like I was baking it and I was like, holy shit. I know it's like negative 15 degrees outside, but I feel like it's fall and the leaves are turning colors right now in the kitchen. It was great.
Yeah.
And then vinegar or lactic acid. If you're going to be making any cheese sauces or like making your own cheese, you need either some form of vinegar, whether that's apple cider vinegar, white wine vinegar, rice vinegar, or my currently new favorite is lactic acid. It just adds this acidity, tanginess that like makes it feel more like a dairy cheese.
Yeah. And then there's vanilla, which is nice for making the whole house smell good.
Yeah, we use so much vanilla in baking. It's insane. Turmeric is mostly to like change your stuff into like a yellow color, but it also adds some earthy flavor. But it's really good for like tricking your brain into thinking that your tofu is actually eggs because it like adds that yellow flavor, or like add it to your cheesy sauces to give it that like yellowy cheesy color, you know?
Yeah.
Also, doesn't it have a lot of really great properties as well?
Yeah,
like anti-inflammatory.
It's anti-inflammatory to a certain degree. And, I don't know how much you'll give it to that when you do one serving of your food, but it's, herbs and spices they have a lot of health properties in general. So.
Yeah. And then you've got like thyme and sage, which are really good for, like Thanksgiving-y fall flavors. And then I would say one of the things I keep most often is like things of like those taco seasonings. I really like those because they're already like pre-blended of all the spices. Yeah. So if you don't have much space for spices, like taco seasoning, they also have like an Italian seasoning. Those are good ones to have around because you don't really need to like mix up your own.
Even in the bottles, they have a lot of different type of spice blends. Yeah. Like what was it, Flavor God? They had a couple of different blends, right?
Yeah, they had like a pizza one that we really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're like low on space or like you don't want to commit to having 30 bottles of spices in your house, blends are a really good, like cheaper option to just have those.
Yeah. And
my recommendations would be like Italian and taco seasoning, specifically taco seasoning, because those are really cheap because they come in those little paper packets.
Yeah.
And those are great for like, I don't know, we've been using just straight up taco seasoning with and throwing it on top of like tofu and veggies and making tofu fajitas.
Right.
Super quick and easy meal.
Yep.
And then soy sauce or like coconut aminos if you are soy-free or gluten-free. But it adds that savory, umami, salty like depth of flavor. And then miso paste is similarly good for something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's really helpful to me because, before I started cooking, I would look at the ingredient list and I didn't know what any of this stuff actually did. It was like, okay, we're just using magical ingredients.
We're making potions.
Exactly. So yeah, no, it's really helpful to hear like how each of them helps with the recipe and kind of the most popular ones you might keep around.
Yeah. I think it's cool to know that stuff in case you're trying to make your own.
Yeah, that's where it really comes in. It's like, I want this to taste this specific way. I add a little bit more of this spice.
Yeah, or like if you're trying to make a recipe and you don't have one of these, like what else could you use?
Yeah.
If you don't cook, I'm really sorry because that was probably really boring for you.
So now that we know a little more about cooking in general, what to keep in the kitchen, some alternatives, things like that, maybe the next thing you'll be asked, and the next thing you might ask yourself when you try to switch to a vegan diet is, okay, where do you get your protein? Where do I get my protein?
Yeah.
So
this is a hard one to figure out if you're like new to vegan food.
For sure, yeah.
It took me a while.
Mainly because a lot of the things we end up using for primary protein sources are things you don't use at all if you're not a vegan.
Oh, and like if you're just like mainstream looking, like this is really for if you're focused on protein, right?
Right.
Because if you're just looking at mainstream recipe blogs, a lot of this stuff isn't even in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to really know a lot of this stuff. They're not really focused on protein, which is fine. Like,
right.
And if you're not focused on protein, that maybe you don't need this section. But like these are like basically we've tried every protein thing on the internet.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that we keep in our house.
Yeah. So the big one is going to be soy proteins.
Yeah, which makes up a lot of like the proteins that we use.
So soy is actually the highest quality protein we have available to us as a vegan. It's a complete protein. It's very similar to like the animal source proteins as far as quality, digestibility, all that stuff. So I would recommend if you're interested in protein, try to focus on the soy protein.
Yeah, and it has a very neutral flavor, so it works really well in a lot of recipes because you can just kind of make it taste like whatever you want.
Yeah. You have some examples of soy protein?
I have many examples.
Let's go.
So my first one, silken tofu.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I knew you knew.
And not just because it's on the note in front of me.
I think I am the biggest pusher of silken tofu on the internet. I don't know. And I make no money off of it, which, please, silken tofu, give me money. But it's great, like, blended for high-protein sauces or dressings or literally anything that you want to be creamy, silken tofu.
Smoothies.
Yeah, it's great to add to smoothies. Yeah. Next up would be just regular tofu, which comes in super firm, extra firm, firm.
Yeah.
All have their own use cases, but really good. I think it's like a pretty good like meat substitute as far as like a whole food plant-based meat substitute.
Yeah.
And we kind of already talked about the ways you might use that.
Yeah.
Next would be textured vegetable protein or TVP, which is one of my personal favorites. It's good for savory stuff and also baking.
Yeah.
Soy curls is one I've heard a lot about it, but I only like recently started using it.
Oh yeah, the soy curls they're pretty good.
So they're kind of like really big TVP chunks, more or less.
Yeah.
Basically, you just soak them in water for 10 minutes and then squeeze out the water, add spices, and you can eat it in like tacos or like on top of a pizza or I don't know, however else you would want to eat something like that.
Yeah.
Like the size of like, I don't know, like chicken strips, basically.
Yeah.
I don't have like a good comparison in the meat world, but yeah, eat it in the way you would eat meat chunks. It's really good. And it's high in fiber too.
Right. Also, there is Say Grace, which is a brand name, and you have to describe it by the brand name because it's the only thing that exists that is like it. And they just call it like Say Grace chunks. But what it effectively is like super concentrated soy protein in the shape of like meat chunks, basically.
Yeah, they have a couple different shapes. Like they have bits, shreds, fillets, nuggets, and I think maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's basically just a super concentrated form of TVP chunks.
Yeah.
You do need to boil this one. So it does add a little bit of time to it. So keep that in mind if you're like looking into it. But it's 90% protein, which is insane.
Extremely high protein for a food.
Yeah.
Yeah. A dry roasted edamame is one of my favorites. They're good to keep around for snacks. You can get them in basically little single serving bags.
Or like a big tub.
Yeah.
Or you can make your own.
Yeah, or you can make your own.
Yeah.
Very high protein.
They're good on top of like salads to add a little crunch.
Mm-hmm.
I like them as a snack.
If you're somebody who likes snacking on like nuts and seeds and stuff, maybe swap that out a couple times for the dry roasted edamame. Very similar, like crunchy snack, but high protein. And
they have different flavors. I'm like obsessed with the dill flavored one right now.
Yeah. Oh, the dill, the ranch. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones.
Yeah.
So next up is tempeh, which we haven't done much with. But I think the whole food plant-based crowd really likes this one, I think a little bit more. So I don't really have any recommendations on how to use tempeh. There's lots of recipes out there for tempeh.
There are people who really like it. I've tried a couple different ones. I don't like it yet. I'm sure I'll find one eventually that I like, but I'm not there yet.
We just always choose tofu over it. I don't know, for no reason.
Yeah.
Anyways, the next one's edamame puffs, which we kind of talked about already. It's like soy protein in puff form. Great for homemade protein bars, Rice Krispie treats, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they're really good. Soy milk also. There are a couple of different types of plant-based milk. Soy milk is the one with the highest protein content.
Yeah, it's 35 to 40% protein, which is, I think, pretty similar to dairy milk.
Yeah, we went back and forth. We started out using like an almond milk, and then we kind of went to oat milk to get a little more creaminess, and now we've kind of settled on soy milk being our go-to.
Soy milk's my favorite. It was like the original, like plant-based milk option, and I think it should have stayed the only one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can eat soy.
Right.
Yeah. And then lastly, this one doesn't get talked about much, but soy flour. This is like defatted soy flour, and I use it in some baking. Like it works really well as like, I don't use it fully, but I'll do like half and half flour to soy flour for something that's going to be kind of dense anyways, like brownies. It's a good way to add protein to a baked good recipe.
Yeah. So those are a lot of your soy-based options. Again, I would, if you don't have an issue, I would try to focus mostly on that. But there are a lot of people who have a soy allergy. So let's talk about some of these soy-free kind of substitutions or alternatives.
Yeah. So soy-free tofu is a big one. They make fava bean tofu, which is about, I think, 90% protein. The macros are insane.
Yeah.
They also make a pumpkin seed tofu and a chickpea tofu. The last two don't have great macros, and they're also kind of pricey.
Yeah.
So I think if you're soy-free and you can eat fava beans, I would probably stick with the fava tofu if you're worried about protein.
If you can find it.
Yeah. The next one would be like TPP, textured pea protein, which is basically a direct substitute for textured vegetable protein.
Yeah. I think that's a really good option.
Yeah.
And then pea protein puffs, kind of similar to the edamame puffs.
Yep. You can use them pretty much the same way.
Yep.
And they kind of have they have similar macros. The pea options are a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. And then some of the items you might keep around in the pantry. PB Fit is a big one. Think of it as like a higher protein replacement for peanut butter.
Yeah.
They have both a powder version and a spread version.
Yeah. And if you can't find PB Fit, PB2 also makes those as well. I think the macros are slightly less good.
Yeah.
But if you don't want a name brand option and you want something cheaper, they do just make peanut powder, which is make sure it's defatted, which it kind of has to be defatted, otherwise it would turn into peanut butter.
Yeah.
But like I think Anthony's makes one that's like cheaper.
Right.
There are a couple other brands as well.
And then protein powder, obviously, if you're trying to hit a protein target, keep protein powder in the pantry. You can get a lot of the protein powders are going to be a blend, so they're all going to be high quality as far as like complete protein. But you can do brown rice protein. There are a couple that are soy specific, soy protein. So yeah, a lot of options out there for protein powder.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people right now are asking about the lead thing.
Yeah. So there was that Consumer Reports thing that came out that said basically plant protein powders have a higher level of lead, and they used kind of a very low threshold for lead. Kind of comes out of California, Prop 65 guidelines. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lead expert, but from what I've seen from the people who are experts in this, it seems like that threshold that they used was significantly lower than something like the FDA would normally use. And it doesn't seem like they are really going up to a problematic level. And, it'd be better if all of our food had no lead.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But that's not really an option. I mean, there's a small amount of lead in a lot of food.
Yeah.
So what I can say is that based on what I've read and what I've heard from, experts that I trust on this, I'm not really changing any of the protein powders that I use. So you make your own decisions on that kind of thing, read a little more about it. But it does seem like they used a really conservative number for that study.
And which ones do you usually use?
I use mostly Ghost now. They have a vegan line. They have a vegan cinnamon flavor that I really like. Orgain, if you are concerned about the lead levels, Orgain is a really popular one that was also pretty low in the lead levels on that test. So you can still stick with Orgain.
Orgain's my favorite, and I hate protein powders. So
Yeah.
Okay. Next up would be Vital Wheat Gluten is a great pantry item because you can make your own meat replacements, or you can just add protein to like baked goods and stuff like we talked about before.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really cheap option, at least in the US. Protein pasta, which we've also mentioned before, but that's a really good pantry item to keep. They make lentil pasta, which is our favorite. They make chickpea, black bean, edamame, lupini. They make blends of different bean pastas.
Yeah, and I don't find that they taste much different at all than a normal pasta.
No.
Especially when you get it into an actual recipe. Like maybe if I was sitting there eating pieces of pasta next to each other, I would notice. But inside an actual dish, I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, you kind of notice the bites a little bit different if you have leftovers, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like them. They don't bother me, so I eat them. Next is nutritional yeast. That's also a shelf-stable item. Adds cheesiness, but it also adds protein. So I recommend having that on hand.
Lots of it.
Lots of it. So much of it.
A big favorite of mine is beans.
We've been eating so many beans lately.
Yeah. You can get dried beans extremely cheap. You do have to do a little bit of prep with them by soaking them and things like that. But you can also get canned beans pretty cheap. And you can, use them in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I somehow got onto Bean Talk, which is like this bean propaganda part of TikTok where like hot girls eat beans, right? So like, yeah. I'm going to eat beans then. And so we've been making these bean bowls, which I don't know if this will ever be a recipe on the site because it's really ugly. But basically,
if that's how it works.
So then we've been making bean bowls, which I don't know even really what to call them. And it probably will never go on the recipe website. But basically, it's a half a can of black beans with a little bit of black bean juice. This is part's important. And then you do 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast and a half of a teaspoon of taco seasoning. You mix that really, really good. And then you sprinkle some like vegan shredded cheese on top and you throw it in the microwave for a minute to a minute and a half. And then it comes out as like, I don't know, cheesy beans. It's really good.
Now, if you've been a loyal listener, I might ask you to recall earlier episodes where I've been made fun of for eating bowls of beans.
Because he didn't season them, guys. It's not the same.
Anyway, I would just like to say I won the battle.
Or my bean bowls better than your bowls of naked beans?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. So it looks like I won. But they're good, right?
They're great, yeah.
We just had them an hour ago.
It's really simple. It keeps you full. Like whenever we do this bean bowl thing in the morning, I feel like I just forget food exists until late in the afternoon at least.
It's great.
Yeah.
We've been eating them for breakfast.
Lentils also kind of closely related to beans. You can use those in soups is kind of the most popular way to use them, but there are a lot of other ways to use lentils. And those you can also get dried or canned. And
dried is going to be significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Then another one to keep in the pantry. Protein bars, protein cookies, that kind of thing. Protein snacks.
Yep. And also lupini flakes are a new one that you've introduced me to.
Yeah. So they're flakes of lupini, which are like, I think I can't remember the exact percentage. They're really high in protein. We haven't really used them yet, but I heard people mix them into oats or you can use them as like breadcrumb.
Okay. Good to know.
We'll have more lupini flake ideas coming for you at some point.
You will be the lupini queen.
I don't know about that.
Also some veggies. Now, I mean, you're not going to get all your protein from vegetables.
Yes.
But there are vegetables that are slightly higher in protein. So as you're going throughout the day, kind of making your food and your meals, and you pick maybe the slightly higher protein vegetables, that stuff adds up.
This is for like, if you have a protein goal, you're having trouble getting your protein, maybe this will move the dial a bit.
Yeah.
Like swapping out some veggies that are higher protein.
Yeah.
So these are like broccoli, mushrooms, spinach, kale, bok choy, cauliflower, green peas, and artichokes are kind of like the high performers. And that's on a protein percentage.
Yeah.
Not on like a gram per gram.
Protein per calorie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some miscellaneous stuff that doesn't really fit into other categories, which is what miscellaneous means.
Thank you.
Vegan ground beef and burgers, we talked about a little bit already. Might want to keep those around for protein. Just egg, we talked about the egg specifically, and also now the just meat chicken alternatives and stuff like that. Seitan, we talked about, a really good vegan protein staple. Vegan chicken nuggets. So yes, like a fried food, but also a lot of the vegan chicken nugget brands are like 60% protein or something. No, are like 40% protein. So it's pretty close to what you would look for in a protein bar.
Yeah. You got to check each brand because they all vary quite a bit, but there are a lot of them that are pretty decent protein.
Yeah. And then the low carb keto tortillas we were talking about earlier.
Love those.
Those are, because of the nature of the fiber in them, they're actually really high in protein a lot of
They
time.
also make like high protein bagels and high protein breads.
Yeah.
But those are really expensive, so you just make your own.
Yeah, and the tortillas, so you kind of get the double whammy, high protein and high fiber.
That's true.
Good choice. And then the tofurkey deli slices we mentioned before, and vegan Greek yogurt is a big one. Greek yogurt is big in like fitness and in baking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Try to get some extra protein in. So there are vegan versions of that as well.
Yeah, and I think that one's like a little over 50% protein.
Yeah.
I don't really like the flavor on its own, but that's just my opinion. I am picky.
Yeah, and if you want to see more vegan protein options, we'll have a link in the show notes. So you have a protein database on your website. That's basically a big table. You can sort and filter and a bunch of different products that show like how much protein they have per calorie, how much protein they have per dollar. So you can see kind of the most cost effective, the highest density protein, a lot of stuff like that all in one spot. It's like over 200 different things on this table.
Yeah, it's quite large. I like spreadsheets. And then I guess we'll move on to like additional resources. So basically, we had a big podcast last week on different documentaries. So we're not going to really dig into these here. So basically, we had a big watching party, and you can find all the details on last week's podcast. But these are kind of the ones that we watched and would recommend. Cowspiracy is good for like an environmental perspective. And it also does a little bit on the factory farming and animal stuff. Forks Over Knives, mostly a health-based documentary. Punk rock vegan movie was really cool if you are into the punk or rock scene, or you just want to hear about how it influenced veganism and animal advocacy. The next one is Game Changers. It kind of follows around like world-renowned athletes. So it's more of a health-focused documentary.
What the Health? This was about the kind of the food system in the United States. So another health-focused one. Seaspiracy was about industrial fishing and kind of its impact on the environment and veganism. And then The Invisible Vegan, which was a look into kind of veganism and Black culture. And
yeah, kind of hit all the bases.
Yeah.
I Could Never Go Vegan also hit all the bases, kind of went through any myths or excuses you might have for not going vegan one by one.
And Food Inc., another one kind of about the food industry and how it, it'd be better off if we went vegan.
Eating Animals was pretty good. This one kind of dispelled the myth of like the meat you get in the grocery stores is from humane farms.
Yeah. And then Plant Pure Nation was one that kind of touched on the government aspect and followed like a small town group of people trying out vegan diet, watching their blood work, things like that.
Next up was Vegucated, which followed around 3 meat and cheese loving New Yorkers who agreed to adopt a vegan diet for 6 weeks. So that was pretty fun to watch. And then
Earthlings and Dominion are both really like graphic undercover looks at the actual farms themselves.
Yeah. And we actually didn't watch those, so we don't want to lie. But these are more for if the other ones didn't turn you vegan, these probably will.
Yeah. Also a couple of books we really like. One is a book that was also one of the movies you just mentioned, was Eating Animals.
Yeah, this is from Jonathan Safran. Basically, it's part memoir, part investigative reporting, but it examines the morals around veganism, farming, and then like the food we eat every day. This is actually the book I read that made me go vegan.
Another one I really like is How Not to Die by Dr. Greger and Gene Stone. Basically, this talks about how to prevent a lot of the diseases that we can get. This talks about the most common causes of death from disease and how a plant-based diet can basically help with every one of those in various ways.
Yeah, this one was really interesting.
Yeah.
The third one we'll recommend is The Impactful Vegan by Robert Cheek. This one's more for like if you're already vegan and you're looking to do more advocacy/activism work. He discusses how vegans can maximize their impact by using our time, money, and energy so that it goes further.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was really insightful on like, if you're already vegan, like what can you be doing to move the dial?
Yeah, I really appreciated that book. Then we have some websites that might be cool to look at to try to, especially I find that if I'm trying something new, it helps me to go and find some like sites that talk about it, kind of keep them on my bookmarks and look at them every once in a while. So a couple that are really cool for veganism. One I really like is Great Vegan Athletes. So this is basically a site that just keeps, profiles of a whole bunch of elite vegan athletes in various sports. So you can go see, who are all the rugby players that are vegan? Who are the Olympians that are vegan? So you can just see, what people can do.
And then Veg News and Veganuary, I would say, are both really good vegan resources. Veg News focuses more on kind of news, but they also have a lot of recipes. And then obviously we had Stu from Veganuary on, and their website is great. It has a ton of resources and recipes.
Yeah, they do. Next is Vegel. It's a good reference for how to order vegan at various chain restaurants. So a lot of times you'll really, does Arby's have vegan food or whatever? You'll find the Vegel article. Not to be confused with Vegly, which is apparently like a vegan dating app, which you could use too, I guess.
Yeah. If you're looking for a vegan partner, you have that as an option. Happy Cow is like, we've already talked about it, but really excellent for finding vegan options near you.
Yeah. Also, if you use Reddit, or if you Google for anything vegan, you'll probably end up on Reddit.
Yeah, but I personally think if you're going vegan, Reddit, you should get Reddit.
Oh, there's so much good information on there.
Yeah.
So a couple of the subreddits, which are basically communities on Reddit for vegans, are, there's one called Vegan.
Yeah.
So that's the main kind of hub for all things vegan.
A lot of news. You can also come here with questions as long as they're in good faith. Vegan fitness is probably the one we're on the most.
Yeah, that one's really nice for anybody interested in fitness who is a vegan.
Yeah, it's like high protein vegan recipes, fitness, health discussions, progress pictures. But like if you have questions around, like if you're starting a fitness journey or you're having trouble hitting your protein, I think this one's a really, really good place to go ask questions.
Yeah. It's also the Protein Deficient Vegan subreddit, which is kind of similar to vegan fitness, but no selfies, mostly about recipes and asking questions.
And anyone can post there.
Yeah.
People don't post very often other than me, but you can. And you should. Yeah. Next up is vegan recipes. And like, as the name implies, lots of vegan recipes there.
These are all pretty well named.
Yeah.
Plant-based diet is more about the diet focus and less about veganism. So if you're just specifically interested in food, you can go there. And then
Eat Cheap and Vegan is one of my favorites. This one's like good if you're on a budget and you need recipes. They've got a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a good place to ask questions.
Yeah.
And then I will say, like, being a vegan can feel very lonely. So finding a place where you can find other vegans to talk with or find like, you know what I mean? Or like socialize with, I think is really helpful to make you feel like, I don't know. I actually heard a lot of people stop being vegan because they feel like so alone in it and they just want to feel like normal and back like part of society again.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, places like these Reddit communities are really helpful because it makes you feel like you're not like the only vegan in the world out there. There's a lot of people that can relate to you. I don't know, even like if you're on social media and you want to like start a vegan social media account, I think there's a lot of like really good vegan communities on like Instagram. Like you can find people to talk to. You know what I mean?
It's also really helpful because as you're going vegan, you probably have a lot of questions and there's nobody in your real life that can probably answer
right.
those. So you can go read blogs and stuff like that, but it's helpful sometimes just to have a discussion with a person.
Yeah. So like, yeah, start a social media account that's vegan and like make some friends, or you can join our Deficient Vegans Discord where it's vegans. You can ask vegan questions. Find a place to find vegans.
Yeah.
That's my like, I would say big advice though, so you don't feel alone.
Yeah, for sure. So in conclusion, some of the actionable takeaways you might have here after listening, make sure you find alternatives for the food you loved if you're trying to go vegan. That's going to be really important to making sure that you can stick to it.
Yep.
Also, learn to find restaurants with vegan options. The main way we do that is Happy Cow, and I consider that to be the best way. But if you join some of these vegan communities, especially local communities, those can also highlight some restaurants you might not know about.
Yeah, and Reddit has a couple different like location-based vegan communities. I know we're on like Chicago Vegan a lot. So
right. Yeah. Also, make sure you plan ahead for any social situations. You want to make sure, like, you're going to a restaurant that's going to have something you can eat. If you're going to a family gathering, they're going to have some options for you.
Or like a work lunch and learn. Just make sure that you're having these discussions with people so that they know you're vegan.
Yeah.
I'd say improving your cooking skills is probably one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah.
Learn how to cook at least a couple things that you enjoy and that's like fun for you, or like at least pretty simple and easy for you to do.
Yeah, definitely. Focus on your protein. Even if you're not necessarily like lifting and have a protein goal, you just be aware that you had a lot of kind of hidden protein before that you weren't paying much attention to. And some of that's probably not going to be there naturally now.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad idea if you first go vegan to like track your food for a couple weeks just to make sure you're hitting your protein.
Yeah. And your micronutrients.
Yeah.
And then be aware that a lot of things use animal-derived ingredients that you might not think do.
Yeah. It's not just about, if you're going vegan, it's not just about food. Like, make sure you're looking at your clothing and your makeup and your, like, home goods and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the big surprises for me was toilet paper. Most toilet paper has gelatin. So if you're vegan, you can't really ethically use gelatin. So you might have to make some decisions there.
We use Who Gives a Crap. It comes in a big box, which is really nice if another pandemic hits.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. That's pretty much it for the How to Go Vegan 101 crash course.
Sorry it was long. We had a lot to say.
Now let's get into our myth of the week this week. The myth this week is that you have to lift heavy to build muscle. So it depends on what you mean by heavy, I guess, but the weight itself does not necessarily need to be heavy to build muscle.
So you're saying that people can just do 50,000 reps of 2-pound dumbbells and that'll be great?
No, don't do that. No, but so what the current science is showing on this is basically, so if you don't know, you have like sets and reps. So you do, you lift the thing 5 times, you rest in between, you do that 3 different times. So you have like 3 sets of 5 reps. Okay. So the science is showing that as long as your reps are anywhere from like 5 to 30, the important thing is that you get close to failing with every set.
Okay.
So as long as you get within a couple of reps of failing the exercise and your reps are between 5 and 30, those are all equally effective for like growing muscle mass, what we call hypertrophy.
So, okay. Let me see if I get this.
Yeah.
So like if you could do curls with 20-pound dumbbells at 5 reps.
Yeah.
But you could also do, the most you could do for 30 reps would be like 8-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
You're saying like if you only had 8-pound dumbbells, just do 30 reps of those and that's like mostly equivalent?
Yeah, as long as that 30 reps still gets you to where like, oh, I could really only do like 2 more of these. As long as you're still in that same situation, for muscle growth, it looks like it'll be equally effective.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess it would add time though, right?
It would add a lot of time. And then also, if you're interested in getting stronger, which is not always directly related to getting bigger muscles, it changes a little bit. The high rep up in the 30 range does not help a whole lot with getting stronger. It just helps with getting the bigger muscles for the most part.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So would you not progress as fast if you were in the 30 rep range as far as like moving up in weights?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. But also, you can use that selectively to help lower your injury risk. Because if you have something that's really awkward and you have to like lug big dumbbells over your head for like an overhead press, then you might opt to use lower weights and really jack up the reps. That way, you're safer getting in position. Or if you're doing something like a deadlift or a goblet squat, you have to like hold something in your arms for a long time with dumbbells. You might use lighter weights just to make that a little easier.
Yeah, or if you're equipment limited, maybe you only have up to 30 pounds.
That's a big reason. Yeah, if you only have 20 or 30 pound dumbbells, you just keep cranking up the reps a little bit as long as you stay within that 5 to 30 range. And then we don't really need to up the dumbbells until you can do 30 reps with your highest dumbbell you have. So yeah, a lot of ways to modulate that. But in general, for actual hypertrophy muscle growth, it's not directly linked to like literally heavier weights. It's linked to effort.
It's good to know.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit about any protein deficient vegan updates from the last week.
Still going strong with Veganuary on all my socials.
Yeah, it's almost over.
It's almost over. Yeah, a video a day is like kind of rough. But yeah, I also posted my pumpkin bread seitan recipe that we talked about. It's if you've tried my pumpkin spice seitan cookie recipe, it's very similar to that. It's basically just that recipe plus chocolate chips in a pan at a lower temperature for longer, and you get pumpkin bread.
So it's a giant bread-shaped cookie.
Sure. That tastes just like pumpkin bread. I think the pumpkin bread cookies are just cookie-shaped pumpkin bread, but but I was thinking like some people might resonate more with like a loaf form than a cookie form. Like it's a little bit less effortful because you don't have to make individual cookies and yada yada.
You know, my favorite thing about it is I get to eat much bigger pieces because a cookie the size of a slice of bread seems ridiculous, right?
Yeah. What about you? You got any updates over there?
Yeah, still so working with the clients that won the Veganuary giveaway. That's going really well. And then I also just put out a fitness jumpstart book. It's on my website. I'll put a link in the show notes. But it's like 50 pages, and it kind of hits all the highlights that you might need if you've never been to the gym. Like if you're just getting started, you're like, okay, I want to get in shape. I want to get healthy. I want to start going to the gym for the very first time. You can go through and read like at a very high level all the basic things you need to know to be successful. If you've already been going to the gym for a while, if you're like building your own programs, it's probably not the kind of book that you would find, although maybe you'll find some interesting refreshers in there. But it is really focused on like, this is my first time doing this fitness thing.
Yeah. I read through it and I felt like it's definitely great for beginners, and it's also like not overly complicated. You just hit the main things that people need to worry about, and I think it'd be very useful for people.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's on the site. So check it out. So we appreciate everybody listening. You know, this was a particularly long one, but we're wrapping up Veganuary.
Sorry.
It might be something you just kind of take notes on, listen to a couple times. And then also, again, you know, kind of our theme with Veganuary, share this with people who are thinking about going vegan. So
yeah, and if you have any ideas of like podcasts or like topics you'd like us to cover, send them our way.
Yeah. You can comment on the Spotify. You can comment on the YouTube for the podcast. Also, while you're there, if you could subscribe and give us a review on there or Apple Podcasts, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah. And if you do have any ideas, let us know, because we basically just make up shit and we don't really know what you guys want to hear about. So if there's like specific stuff you'd like us to cover, we'll try to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Also in the show notes, you can check out our websites, proteindeficientvegan.com, muscledeficientvegan.com, and see us on social media. If you want to send us a message, that's probably the easiest way, is like on Instagram, most likely. And then we have the Deficient Vegans Discord, which is also linked in the show notes and is up to almost 50 people now.
Yes, and it's a lot more talkative, which is exciting.
Yeah. If you need any vegan friends, especially fitness-minded vegan friends, it's a pretty good place to be right now.
Come make friends. We also have an accountability channel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you need accountability buddies, we got you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, everybody.